thank you for joining us. I am Sister Roma, a 34-year member of the San Francisco Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence. It says hold for applause. Thank you, thank you. I am truly honored to join you today for this historical event as your host, as we recognize the nation's first Transgender History Month right here in San Francisco. I would like to begin by thanking our wonderful San Francisco Mayor, London Breed, for hosting us today and your incredible support of the trans and LGBT community. And also thank you to the Transgender District and the Office of Transgender Initiatives for partnering to make this special event an historic month possible. Thank you to all of the city and elected official leaders who are here joining us, including DCCC Chair Honey Mahogany, Supervisor Raphael Mandelman, representatives from Scott Wiener's office, Assessor Joaquin Torres, and Commissioner Cecilia Chung, and many more. So I moved to San Francisco after graduating from college in 1985, and within 2 years I had met the sisters and sort of was propelled headfirst onto the front lines in the war against HIV and AIDS and began fighting for civil rights. And the thing that has impressed me most about San Francisco is our community. We are intelligent, we are compassionate, we are creative, and we are determined. These Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence started here in San Francisco. We are the home of the first ever gay men's chorus. This is the first place right here where gay marriages were performed. We fought for the right to serve. We have laid down and screamed, "I can't breathe," with Black Lives Matters. We've worked with women and gun control. So it's very fitting that San Francisco is the first to celebrate this historic milestone. It makes sense for our rich history of our community here, the birthplace of the trans rights movement. This month marks the 55th anniversary of Compton's cafeteria riots that took place in August 1966 in the Tenderloin. The riot was a response to the violent and ongoing police harassment of trans people and drag queens, particularly Black trans women and trans women of color. The incident was one of the first LGBTQ-related uprisings and protests in U.S. history, preceding the perhaps better known 1969 Stonewall riots in New York City. The riots began on a warm summer evening when a trans woman resisted arrest by throwing a cup of coffee at a police officer. It was followed by trans women and drag queens pouring into the streets, fighting back with their heels and purses against the ongoing attacks, injustice, and discrimination. San Francisco has come a long way since the riots, leading the country in strong policies and innovative programs. Although we can never forget how these advances are possible, the trans civil rights heroes whose shoulders we stand on. This includes legendary trans leaders who are no longer with us that we recognize in spirit, including Jazzy Collins, Felicia Flames, Bobby Jean Baker, and so many more. And also today we come together to honor those who are still fighting to advance trans liberation today and who have championed civil rights for decades, including Miss Donna Persona, who is one of our trans elders and heroes. So thank you all for what you have done and continue to do. I have to say the thing that also has impressed me about our community is that we have amazing allies. We couldn't do any of this alone, and we are very fortunate to have such an amazing, powerful ally right here at the highest office of this beautiful hall in this wonderful city. Please welcome the amazing mayor of San Francisco, London Breed.
Thank you so much, Sister Roma, and Thank you to everyone who is joining us here today. It's so good to see you, Donna, always. You're always here at all these amazing events, and we appreciate your work and advocacy over the years. I want to take this opportunity to also recognize Commissioner Cecilia Chung. Thank you so much for being here as well, and your work on behalf of not just the trans community, but the city and county of San Francisco. Thank you so much for being here. We're here today to celebrate an incredible milestone. And Supervisor Mandelman, we appreciate you so much for your work here in City Hall. But I want to take this moment to just, reflect back. And I just realized our assessor recorder, Joaquin Torres, is joining us. Joaquin, why are you sitting down? You're supposed to be standing up. Standing up for the trans community, buddy. An incredible ally. I want to take this opportunity to really recognize, I think, two really incredible people who have been extraordinary leaders in San Francisco. First, Aria Syed, who has been just really amazing in leading the transgender district and really advocating and pushing and coordinating and collaborating and bringing people together to help push the city in a direction where we are doing incredible things. Her leadership, along with Claire Farley, who is the director of the first Office of Transgender Initiatives, has been extraordinary. And people like to give government credit for all these gains. But I gotta tell you, it's women like this who are the reasons why we have been able to launch extraordinary programs that no one ever thought of. It's because of this community and their advocacy that we have pushed forward the first trans home SF, providing housing for our transgender community because they have been disproportionately impacted as it relates to homelessness in this city. It is because of their advocacy, and many of you here today, that we've launched the first program providing universal income for the trans community. So many gains, but so much more work to be done. That's here in San Francisco. It's not happening in other cities across this country. And we know that this movement goes back to 1966, as Sister Roma talked about, the Compton cafeteria riots that occurred right here in San Francisco. Everyone likes to talk about Stonewall as the catalyst, but we all know as San Franciscans that it started right here, and it took 3 years before it really catapulted into what we believe has been a movement that has continued on to support and to uplift the trans community. I have a very, very dear friend that I truly love who is raising their child, and their child is in the process of transitioning. And I know that in the past, back in the 1960s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and even early 2000s, the ability to be able to allow your child to be who they want to be, who they are born to be, would not have been possible had it not been for the extraordinary advocacy of this community. So it is so fitting that we celebrate and we honor that history, that we honor that legacy, that we make those investments, that we continue to push, and San Francisco continues to be that example. This past budget season, thanks to Supervisor Mandelman and other members of the Board of Supervisors, and I see Honey Mahogany here who works with Supervisor Matt Haney, who served as the chair of the Budget Committee. This year, we put forth $12 million to make sure that we are investing in the first ever LGBTQ museum in San Francisco to highlight and document and maintain the history of this community in our city, because it's such a rich history, because it is where the movement started, because we continue to be leaders in advancing the goals that are necessary to be supportive and inclusive and to make sure that this community is not forgotten, is not discriminated against, is protected, is supported, and uplifted. It all sounds good in San Francisco, but the reason why we recognize these milestones and we highlight them is to continue to make sure people know that there is more work to be done, because there are still women and men, and mostly trans women, who are being killed just because of who they are. And in San Francisco, we recognize them, we honor their lives, and we make sure that we highlight the need for justice and highlight the need for changes to policies to hold people accountable who would attack this community. In San Francisco, we pride ourselves on being inclusive. We pride ourselves on being the first. We talk about all the great things that we want to do, but we also need to make sure that with those words, there are deeds, there are policy changes, there are investments, there are things that will show a difference in people's lives. And so I really want to thank you all for being here today to celebrate what we will continue to do in the month of August to recognize this community. And the person that I must credit for all of the knowledge and the understanding and the information about the trans community is Felicia Flames. My relationship with her started many, many years ago before I was even on the Board of Supervisors. Her telling me they always forget the T in the LGBT movement, and I'm not gonna let them forget the T. And she was a great inspiration and a support to so many. She had a lot of courage, along with Donna and others who just would not back down and were not afraid at a time when they were not treated with a lot of love and respect. But they still stood strong. And you're still here with us today, Donna, and we're so grateful to you, and we're so happy to have you, and we're so grateful to Felicia and her legacy and her work. She would be so proud of the many gains that we've made. I know that I'm really proud of San Francisco. And I really want to take this moment, too, to recognize our former mayor, Ed Lee, who started this first Office of Transgender Initiatives as a way to highlight and support this community. And Claire, as I said, has done an extraordinary job of bringing the community together and helping to make sure that me as mayor and other policymakers do the right thing and put our money where our mouth is. And so today we're gonna sign this proclamation to declare it officially Transgender History Month in the city and county of San Francisco. So Aria, before you say a few words, the rest of you, Sister Roma, please join me. That's a lot of where-ass clauses. All right. Are we ready? Ready? Let's do this. Done. It's official.
Thank you, Mayor Bree. Thank you, everyone. This is so exciting. This is history. This is our history. I would also just like to recognize the mayor's unprecedented leadership in this crazy time of the pandemic, when who could have foreseen that we would find ourselves living through this like once in a century catastrophe. And you have rose to the occasion. You're protecting us all, keeping us safe. So you know what, you guys, we really have to appreciate our mayor, because I feel like many of the women who started here before her, she is destined for more. So we need to enjoy her and thank her while we still got her, because she's going places, baby. So as we mentioned, we have some amazing leaders in our community, and this next person has proven to be absolutely outstanding in everything and looking good while she does it. Please welcome Arya Syed.
Hi, everybody. Oh, no, that was a permission to respond. Hello, everybody. Thank you. I get really nervous, actually, when I'm asked to publicly speak. And, you know, during the pandemic, we had the luxury of Zoom. And so I was able to do these speaking things in a room alone. And now it's even more nerve-wracking because this is family. Thank you so much, Mayor Breed, for this moment. It's such a beautiful day today that it is Transgender History Month. It is also Marsha P. Johnson's birthday, a mother of our movement, who famously said, "I want my gay rights now." And so it's very special to not only be celebrating the 55th anniversary of the Compton's cafeteria riots and the amazing, incredible history that we have as trans people. And so all my trans siblings in the space, I want us to know how powerful we are and how resilient we are and how we are more powerful than our minds can digest. And it was Harvey Milk who actually advocated for San Francisco Pride. Once upon a time, it used to happen in Golden Gate Park. And he fought tirelessly before, well, we know, but he fought tirelessly for Pride to actually happen at City Hall every single year because he said that queer people and trans people deserve to be at the seat of power in the city. And so I'm so grateful that we have this moment and that we have Mayor Breed and the Office of Trans Initiatives truly advocating for trans people's history and our experience and our culture and all the contributions that we've made to the world, not just since 2007, but for the last hundreds and hundreds of years to be known. And I want to also acknowledge some very special people that we're also going to be honoring today, which is Miss Tamara Ching, who was at the Compton's cafeteria riots. As an Asian trans woman who has been fighting for over 55 years for trans people, and Miss Cecilia Chung, who co-created Trans March among so many other things for trans people since the 80s and 90s, and Miss Camille Moran, and so many other people, and just so grateful to be soaking up this moment. And so I don't want to hold y'all, but I do want to introduce a very special, special lady. She's a trans Latina advocate. She's also undocumented and a DACA recipient. And she is actually a huge reason why today is happening. She has been fighting and advocating and harassing me and Claire and everyone in between to make this moment possible and for trans people to be heard during this month in this way. And so I'm gonna ask that the ladies of the Trans District come up with Ms. Jupiter Peraza, who's our Director of Social Justice Initiatives. Thank you.
Sorry, everyone. Very beautiful earrings, but very hard to navigate. Can you help me? Yes, of course. Thank you so much. Thank you, Arya. Thank you, Mayor Breed, for this wonderful opportunity. And I just wanted to say that this is a step in the right direction. In order to understand a community, we must understand the history. And in a society in which trans people are regarded with so many misconceptions, it is time that we alleviate those misconceptions with education, candor, and legitimacy. When we learn about others, we learn about ourselves. What we have here is an opportunity to embrace how similar we are from one another, an opportunity to disseminate and uncover how much my community, the trans community, has given up for the well-being of all of us. Trans people are my past, they are my present, and they are my future. And they are yours as well. As we have proven, we are capable of transcending what is imposed on us to attain a life in which we are authentically and exquisitely us. We are our own prized possession. I talk about beauty in being me, in being us, because we should talk about that more. And with Transgender History Month, we will talk about that. The goal is to remind every single trans person, whether you're thinking about transitioning or you've lived years as the person that you were bound to be, how vital and how critical you are. You are a cornerstone. You are a beacon of progress. Thank you to all the leaders in this room, to Mayor Breed for welcoming this proclamation. You always know what the best San Francisco looks and feels like. Thank you to Claire Farley and everyone at the Office of Transgender Initiatives. You are representing us with might and cleverness. To Hannah Mahogany for spearheading, history by breaking down barriers. And most importantly, an immense thank you to the co-founder and president of the Transgender District, Arya Saeed. For being the leader our community needs. You are brilliant, relentless, and so au courant when it comes to what direction progress is. And to the ladies that stand beside me, we have a very bright future ahead of us. Happy Transgender History Month, everyone.
None of these speakers. I'm so motivated and inspired today. If you're following the program, we're gonna change it up just a little bit. I would like to welcome, she looks like she's being interviewed. Cecilia, would you like to come up and say a few words? A trans hero and legend, everybody, Cecilia Chung.
Hello, everyone, and thank you, Sister Ruma. Interestingly, I came to San Francisco in 1985 to start college. There you go. So we just dated ourselves, I think. It's really wonderful to be here, to be able to talk about the rich history and all the stories that San Francisco represents for the trans community. I still remember the first time when I got to the city, I came here because I know my community was here, and I could find someone who understands what I was going through. San Francisco will always hold, and is still holding, a very special place in my heart. This is the city where I graduated college. This is the city where I began my transition. This is the city where I became homeless. This was the city where I found a way out. And this is the city who gave me these opportunities, to serve, and this privilege to be on different commissions, like to lead by our vision. I was lucky enough to be appointed to the Human Rights Commission, and then the Department of Public Health, the Health Commission, These are not small commissions, but I really am grateful for the opportunity to serve and to show the world that trans people can lead too. It's not an accident that we see such a big and beautiful community here in San Francisco. It was because of all the resilience we endured and all the fights we got into. By the way, I think that we were also the first city that the community actually fought with the supervisors and make politicians apologize to the community. You've never heard that from anywhere else, right? And to be able to see the progress means a lot. And this is one of those occasions that I think I can proudly say that, yes, like, I'm old, but I'm old in a really grateful way because I get to see all the beautiful young leaders emerging, especially young leaders of color like Aria and many more, and also to celebrate some of the names that maybe you have never heard of, or maybe you know, such as Miss Major, Janetta Johnson, and Marilyn Robinson, who just recently passed away. These are all Black trans women, and their leadership helped to shape the movement today. Without them, we wouldn't have so many social justice organizations that are being led by these beautiful trans women. And of course, it also shows that we're capable of doing more. Maybe soon, one day, Aria decide to run for Board of Supervisors or even mayor. And maybe one day, we will see a trans president. These are the dreams that you all can have now. You can dream as big as you want because of the rich history, because of the stories, because of all the giants who paved the way for us. And thank you. Thank you for being here. And thank you, Mayor, for making August the Transgender History Month.
So we've seen some great leaders. We've acknowledged that we have new leaders who are giving us all hope for the future. I think one of the talents of our community is that great people are compelled and called to run for office, and we elect them. And one of my favorites happens to be here today. Please welcome Supervisor from District 8, Raphael Mandelman, and a representative from Senator Scott Wiener's office, Omar Rincon. Yes, she is. Oh, well, he's an important person. Sorry, Raphael had to leave. I'm glad you're still here, Mayor. Thank you. But should we do the awards? What would you like to do, ladies? Move on to Honey. Let's do Honey? Yeah. Well, I'm always down to introduce Miss Honey Mahogany. Honey, this happens to be one of my dearest, closest friends. Someone I've been so proud to watch her meteoric rise to leadership and power here in San Francisco. Please welcome Honey Mahogany.
Well, thank you, Mayor Breed. Thank you, Claire Farley, Aria Saeed. Of course, one of my truly best friends, Sister Roma, for all of your leadership and beautiful words today. And of course, one of the reasons why we are all here today, Jupiter Peraza, for her leadership in advocating for the creation of Trans History Month. Thank you for your leadership, Jupiter. I just want to say a few brief words about how we ended up here today. When we founded the Transgender District, it was with a coalition of organizations that have been serving the transgender community for decades here in San Francisco. And that includes organizations like TGIJP, the Transgender Gender Variant Intersex Justice Project. It includes organizations like St. James Infirmary, and it also includes organizations like the Q Foundation.
We all banded together because we saw what was happening to our beautiful city of San Francisco. There was rapid gentrification and development that was displacing so much of our community, from our most beloved venues and community spaces to our residents. Back then, I was actually working as a social worker in Contra Costa County, and one of the most heartbreaking things that I would see is the trans people who are displaced from housing in the city to places like Pittsburgh and Antioch, where they were completely removed from resources, friends, family, transportation, unable to get jobs, and I saw many of our clients devolve and self-medicate, and some even attempting to take their own life. So for us, it was truly a life or death situation in establishing the Transgender Cultural District, in fighting back against the displacement of our community and making sure that we were able to preserve the history of the Tenderloin and create opportunities for trans people right here in the home where we have been for more than a generation. So I am extremely proud of the work that the Transgender District has been able to do since then. Some of you know that I led the Transgender District for the first 2 years when it was just getting started, but since Arya Saeed has taken leadership, it has grown exponentially. It has become an organization that is internationally known. The work of the Trans District is being replicated in states across the country. People are being housed, people are being given jobs, people are creating change in the physical environment of the Tenderloin and fighting for a brighter future where we can all still be here. So I just want to give a shout out to the entire Transgender District team, to Sean, who is the development director and who is an ally of the district. He's an honorary trans. To Juniper and Iris and Jupiter and Aria, and of course the leadership of our mayor, Claire Farley, and all the supervisors who invested so heavily in the trans community. Thank you for believing in this vision, for continuing to fight for what is right, and for dreaming for a brighter future for not just trans people, but for San Francisco. So thank you, and thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Of course, Honey is the first elected Black trans chair of the DCCC. I mean, did Cecilia say she was looking for the first trans president? Where do I vote? I'm ready. I am ready. So I believe that concludes our program. Oh, do you have something? Okay, let's go.
Sorry, everyone. We didn't want to leave here without giving certificates of honors to members of our community that have truly shown their dedication, their resilience, and their tenacity in making sure that our community is advancing and progressing. We have acquired certificates of honor from Supervisor Haney's office. Honey, do you want to do me the honors as part of the Haney team?
Sure. So on behalf of Supervisor Haney, we would like to give this certificate of honor in recognition of her tenacious advocacy for transgender people in San Francisco and globally, and her monumental role in health equity and the creation of social empowerment spaces for and by transgender people over multiple decades as a trailblazing transgender activist and thought leader, to Cecilia Chung. Next, we would like to give this in recognition of the tremendous contributions that she has made to the transgender community, making institutional strides for equity during a time when opportunities for change for trans people were limited, socially challenging, and fatal. With utmost gratitude and respect, we award this to Camille Moran. And finally, in recognition of her role as a transgender and queer freedom fighter at the Compton's cafeteria riots in August of 1966, and her continued activism and public service for the transgender community spanning over 50 years, we thank Tamara Ching for her unwavering advocacy and courageous representation for the global LGBTQI community.
Thank you, Honey. And we meant to surprise Cecilia Chung with the certificates of honor, not just from Supervisor Haney's office, but also Senator Wiener's office was so kind to present their own certificates of honor. And we have Omar Rincon, who is here representing his office, to also extend the certificates of honors to these three lovely individuals. However, Cecilia, you already heard from her. Nonetheless, we wanted to make sure that we honored them and that we presented the certificates of honor for all that they've done. Sister Roma, you want to take us away?
That's wonderful. I'm glad that you were able to do that. And thank you all again for joining us. Let's mingle safely. And if you are invited, we will be doing the flag raising on the balcony outside the mayor's office. Oh, and you're invited to watch it from below. Happy Transgender History Month!